You all know that there has been change in the lifestyle. You know that. But you don't know that with the change in the lifestyle, there has also been change in the health-related problems. Previously, you used to suffer with a common alimentation or infectious or communicable diseases. But now, the chronic diseases have taken over, the communicable diseases. And it is likely to rise in the next few decades, or next few years or next few decades. You can see what is the load of this chronic disease, whether it's a liver disease, whether it's a kidney disease, heart disease, and lung disease. So this is going to be the problem in next few years. So and the solution for this is, because now we have advanced in the technology also, but we haven't found that till now the organs, because the biological organs other than the organ donation. So only solution for this chronic disease is the transplantation, and that can happen only through donation. So there are forget about the kidney, because patients can undergo dialysis, but other like the liver and then the heart and the lung, there is no options available. Now there are two types of donations possible. One is live related or unrelated, and another is cadaveric donation, otherwise called a deceased donor. So live related, like the relation, the close relatives of patient, whether it can be parents, it can be brothers or sisters, siblings, and then the kids, they can donate. So another is called as a deceased donation. Deceased donation, people are not aware of such terminology, the deceased donation. In this deceased donation, what happens is there are two types of death. The natural death is called as a cardiac death. That occurs because of the stoppage of the heart. Once the heart stops beating, that's called as a natural death, or sahajanga jarige maranam. But there's one more death called as a brain death. So people not aware of this, and I thank the organizers for having conducted this program where we can reach the public. So brain death is the condition where the brain stops functioning, and it is permanent, it is irreversible. The patient cannot survive, and it will eventually, after a few, it can be minutes, it can be seconds, or it can be hours, it can be days. Eventually it will lead to a cardiac death. So in that situation, other organs would be functioning. The liver would be functioning, the kidneys would be functioning, heart would be functioning, the lungs would be functioning. So these organs can be taken from that patient and can be incorporated into other patients who require these organs. So this is what is called as a cadaveric donation, or the latest terminology, deceased donation. So there's, as I said, there's one, there has been increase in the load, and it has been projected that when in 2025 there will be around 300 million people suffering from the chronic kidney disease. So how can we match? So the organ requirement, there's a huge load of organ requirement and very less organ donations. There is a huge gap between the demand and the supply. So this can only be met by deceased donor transplantation or the cadaver donation. Act has come in 1994 itself across India, and 1995 in Andhra Pradesh, but still there has been a certain lacuna in various fields. Okay, so particularly basically they are public need to be aware that there is a concept called brain death, where the people can donate organ, and the patient who is donating, he cannot, in any circumstances he cannot recover out of that. So the public has to be aware of that. There's a lot of myths and some regional, religious aspects, regional aspects, certain all of this phobia is there. So that has to be washed out. Okay. So there are certain concerns, like the public, and another hurdle is the professional itself. Not only public, even most of the professionals are not aware. And there should be proper training. Brain death has to be declared. There is, there's a committee of doctors who has to declare. There's a series of tests which need to be performed to declare as a brain death. So even professionals, they should be aware of the brain death, how to declare the brain death, who has to declare the brain death. There is certain phobia among the doctors also. So these are the second hurdle. And the third hurdle is the government. Government has to come up with certain policies to streamline the procedure. So in certain countries like Spain and Belgium, so there are like two issues. One is the brain death is mandatory. So even in our country, there are a lot of brain death occurring. Daily we see some lakhs of people dying, particularly in accidents. That happens particularly in accident cases, the brain is damaged and the whole body would be functioning. So there are a lot of people, meeting with accidents and having a brain death. So there's basic difference between the Indian and the other countries are this brain death declaration is mandatory. Okay, so once brain death is declared, and that becomes the property of the government. Government has a right to take these organs and incorporate into individuals who are suffering from these diseases. So that is called as a opt out. It is presumed. It is presumed and it is taken for granted that once patient is brain dead, the organs are the right of the public. Okay, but in India it is not so. Okay, brain death is not mandatory. Okay, most of the patients are unrecognized. You know, there are deaths occurring, but we don't declare them as a brain death. It's unrecognized. And then second is we need to take consent from the donor's family. Okay, that's called opt-in. Okay, once they give consent, only then we have a right to take the organs. So this is the policy decision. No? It depends upon the country to country, and that is why the donation rate in Spain is around 90 plus, around 99%. Okay, so that's a huge gap. So these are the hurdles where which need to take care. So considering these deficiencies, government has taken initiative and government has come up with a GO called Jeevandan. Though the GO has come up in 2010, we have some groundwork was done all these years, and practically we have come into implementation part in January 2013. And so far, I am glad that most of the hospitals have registered, and even the public is responding in a positive way. And within these 6 to 7 months, we had around 26 donations, which is a significant number. And I think Madam can say, she can know the importance of this donation. And there are certain issues we have been facing during this process, and we are in the process of streamlining. The second important issue is the recipients, the patients who are suffering. So we are also in the process of streamlining these issues. Like all the patients, like kidney patients or the liver patients, the heart patients, they need to register with the Jeevandan.